167 days in space, over 38 hours performing spacewalks, traveling more than 6 million miles, making hundreds of orbits about the Earth. But how did I get there? This is the making of an ordinary spaceman. I'm Clayton C. Anderson, and these are my stories.
Throttle back to 67% of rated performance, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it breaks through the sound barrier.
Boys will be boys. Join me on a great episode of the Making of an Ordinary Spaceman podcast when I bring two of my childhood buddies in to talk about the things we did, the competition we experienced in high school, and how that turned us into the men we are today.
We are in the midst of a podcast, and this podcast is important to me, and I hope to the audience, because we are talking about how to build an ordinary spaceman. And when we talk about things like that, it's important to note that space exploration in general is a team sport. Some say it's the ultimate team sport. And in this podcast today, I'm welcoming back two of my high school buddies, Tom Wild and Richard Hurlbut. And this is really exciting for me. First of all, I don't see you guys enough. It's been too long. But I also want to get your perspectives about life in Ashland, and then in essence how you helped to build an ordinary spaceman. So let's start with this one. Richard.
Yes, sir.
You were our class valedictorian.
That is true, and you were our class salutatorian.
Well, I was one below that.
Really?
Gwen.
No. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, boy.
Was our salutatorian. Oh. And so my first question of you today is, was Clay ultra competitive?
You know, I was not thinking that, at least towards me. But at least with regard to academics, apparently that is the case, because I looked at I found my commencement address last night.
Oh, no kidding.
Trying to find the picture of you that indicated on the back to the second smartest guy in school. And I've used that line multiple times of that I'm smarter than a rocket scientist.
That's exactly
and
right.
And that gets me into parties and everything. But I found another picture, interestingly enough, that you signed on the back that I'll talk about a little later.
Oh,
but
okay.
in the commencement address, I actually took a picture of it. It says that near the end, it says, and I wouldn't have been here or something. I could actually read it verbatim if I can get my phone, but
feel free.
Okay, I'd like to quote it since I can't write like that anymore.
Well, if you're a rocket scientist or smarter than a rocket scientist, that explains that.
That explains it.
Many rocket scientists are poor writers.
Let's see.
But
here.
they're really good at chalkboard. Well, it's not chalkboard anymore, right? Not blackboard. Whiteboard equations.
In closing, I won't forget the people that have helped me, nor will I forget a fellow classmate of mine whose competition scholastically kept me working hard to get good grades.
Wow.
You didn't put that on mine.
that classmate's unnamed. Now it could have been Gwen, I guess, but I think it was you.
Oh, man.
So that's how you make an ordinary astronaut. You have iron sharpens iron, and
exactly.
The camaraderie.
But we had a lot of fun. I don't remember us. It wasn't. Well, sometimes I guess people would look at their test scores, right? And we would go. We would look over to see what so and so got to compare. But I just remember the third semester or the third quarter. We had quarters, right? The third quarter of our senior year with Varland. Remember? And we had to do income tax prep. Remember that?
Yep.
And he gave us data, right, as if you're a family or a single, whatever we were doing, and we filled out the income tax forms, and that was our only grade that semester.
That was a big one, yeah.
And this rocket scientist made a math error, and it dropped my grade way down. So I blame Varley.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't remember who I would blame. I guess I'm blameless at this point, at least in high school, but I peaked in high school. So you took off after that and aspired, and I kind of glided down a little bit.
Well, Tom was pretty competitive too.
In science and rocketry.
And very persistent. He persevered. Now, I don't know if you remember this or realize this, but perseverance is a big deal to me, right? Because I went through 15 years of 15 applications and failure to the 15th time, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's on all the internet, right? But you, sir, borrowed 2 of my Hardy Boys mysteries. Why don't you tell us a story about the Hardy Boys mysteries?
Oh, I believe that was like 1970. We took a trip down to Oklahoma to visit the Irons family.
And then the Irons were a family, the pastor of the First Christian Church that we were members of for many years, and that's the family.
Ron and Patsy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I borrowed 2 Hardy Boy books from Clay to read on the way, and somebody spilled Kool-Aid on them.
That must have been Tim.
That was Dennis.
Yeah, that sounds like Dennis.
Let's blame Dennis.
Those are Tom's brothers, by the way.
Anyway, I was mortified, and I just didn't want to return them in that condition, and so I didn't. And let's see now.
So the hidden staircase stayed hidden, and the tower treasure is still.
I don't remember which
to
books
be found.
But
no, it was later in the series. Those were early.
Well said. You know your Hardy Boys.
looking for something in the basement, and I found those books. Oh no. So I think you were in town for some astronaut deal. So I wrapped them up, put them in your mom's back door with a note, sorry for the late return. Please don't pound me.
That was the phrase we used to use when people got beat up when we were kids. I'm going to pound you.
Yeah. But I remember we're going down. There's all 7 of us in this Ford Trino. And I'm sitting on the far left reading this book, and I turned the page, and my sister said, she nudged me. She says, I'm not done with that one yet. So I had to turn back. And then when she was done, she'd nudge me, and I turned the page. But I don't know who spilled the Kool-Aid. So.
You're gonna stick with that.
Plausible
I'm gonna stick with that,
deniability. Good, good. Yeah, we like that.
And you had your chance to get back to me on that, because you signed my copy of your book. You could have Diet Coked it or something. You had your chance.
Well, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a collector's item. Holy cow.
Yeah, that book, I bought it and read it, and I took it over, had you sign it, and all my classmates bought it. So I'm asking them, have you read it? Not yet.
Not yet, yeah.
So
hey, I don't care if they read it. If they buy it, I'm good. I don't care if they read it.
I might be the first person to have read that book. So.
Second.
Okay.
At least a second. Yeah. And I've read it many, many times.
Yeah.
And the stories don't change, but the letters, they get really blurry. And the words, you see double words that aren't really there, and it's a crazy time. So speaking of reading, I talked to you recently, and you disagreed with my assertion that we used to climb up in Brad Beckman's apple tree with a box of Brad's comic books, and we'd sit in that tree wedged in the branches with that box of comic books, and we'd eat apples and read comics.
I think it was a maple tree.
Maple trees don't have apples, dude.
Yeah. Well,
I know we ate apples.
That brings up another story about apple trees. I don't know if you can edit this. Dad had an apple tree in the backyard, green apples. And
I remember that.
The neighbor boy would pick one, take a bite, and throw it.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
They were sour.
Okay. The next one wasn't any better.
Well, it's data. You have to gather data, right?
The scientific method, is that what we're calling it?
N equals 30 is better than N equals 2.
So I'm pretty sure I told you I don't think my dad wants you doing that. But what did you do that night?
I don't know.
Well, it was a Saturday.
Oh,
and then
jeez.
The next day at church.
We'd like to introduce our new guest.
He says, guess what I did last night?
Uh-oh.
I sat on a stool all night long with the trots. And my mom was so mad. Have you eaten any green apples since then?
No, not a one. Never. I gave up green apples. I have not given up the trots, however. And I actually had an episode in the International Space Station.
Oh boy.
Of the trots, yeah. But I wasn't due to green apples.
I don't remember reading that in the book.
No, that part was conveniently left out. I mean, can't tell every story because I might have a volume 2.
Yeah.
So did you get a nickname from that, or?
No, I kept that one pretty quiet because it happened about 2 a.m, which is good because Fyodor and Oleg, their sleep stations are right next to the toilet, and when you fire up the toilet, right, in space, it makes a lot of noise, and so I was fortunate that they were sound asleep. I had the toilet all to myself because I was going to need it for a while, and everything came out okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's.
Other than you feeling a little flushed, yeah, it was good.
Nice. Yeah. Now, see, I don't remember that humor from you in high school.
Don't you?
It was
no.
Well,
Was
it
it
turns
there?
out that you got to learn stuff quick, and it came easy to you, and you put the part in your book about taking your books home, but you'd set them on the TV and then watch TV shows. And
Right.
I actually had to study. To
No
get
way.
Yeah.
No way.
Some stuff came easily to me, but I too got sick of hauling the books back and forth, but I don't think I could have done without doing that to
I do
meet
remember Mrs. Garing telling you better quit helping the other kids and start doing your own work. Remember that?
Vaguely. I found my graduation card from you last night.
Oh.
And it said, congratulations on graduation, welcome to the rat race. And then you open it and it says, I hope you get to be the big cheese. And there's a big picture of cheese there. And then at the bottom it says, Rick, now I hope you can get paid for helping kids with math.
Yep. Yeah.
Tom has a good memory. I know mine's not that good. It's probably all that space radiation that
Could be, yeah.
been bombarded with.
I don't remember how good mine is.
But let's go back. Let's try to dial back to high school in Ashland, Greenwood. Now, Richard, you came in, as you reminded me today, in the 4th grade, right, and spent just 1 year?
4th
Or 2
grade,
years?
and then that's where Tom and I became friends. We met, and we I forget what it was. Somehow we ended up in getting together and went down in his basement. And the only reason we became friends is my parents drove a 1961 Ford Ford Galaxy. And he had a dash out of a Galaxy in his basement. And I says, hey, that looks like the dash from a 1961 Ford Galaxy. And he says, that is. So I was pretty impressed, and that's how we became friends. But it just so happened that we had that very same car. Otherwise, I had no clue that was from a Ford, from a Galaxy, from a 61. Yeah. I did know that it was a dash because the numbers counted up.
Was this before or after the Wild family began construction of their canoe?
I believe.
Which took
4th grade. That was in like a 70 when we did that.
I don't remember. I just know it took a long damn time.
Yeah. Well, we built it in a driveway.
Yes, you did.
Covered it with a tarp. It looked beautiful. Redwood.
It was.
Then we went to Oklahoma to visit, and we came back and it had brained, and it looked terrible. It just came apart like a wicker basket. And Dad said, should we start over or should we hammer it out? And I said, let's start over. And so we hammered it out and covered it with that canoe weighed 200 pounds.
It was very heavy, but
it was huge.
It eventually floated, right?
Yeah, we had every kid in the neighborhood in that boat. You were probably one of them. Took it to Memphis Lake.
I don't remember if I ever went with you guys to get in I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, okay, I'll tell that part then.
Okay.
We all went to Memphis Lake, and we loaded that boat up with every kid in the neighborhood with paddles and back and forth across the lake. But as soon as you stop paddling, that old boat just stopped. I mean, it was draggy. But it was around for a long time.
So you sound like an engineer to me.
But I'm not.
Well, what do you do?
I'm a technician. I went to Milford for electronic engineering, and I started at ISCO in '79.
You've been there forever.
I've been there 42 years.
And don't you run a lab?
Well, now I babysit 6 grown men. Yeah, and I'm not a real good babysitter. But yeah, it's I've been doing the managing part for 15 years, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Retirement near?
either that, tired or fired, or yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But there's a few years left.
Okay.
So
And Richard, how about you? What are you up to these days?
I am now retired.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. This beginning of this year, my wife is continuing to work, bless her heart, and I put in 30 years with a company called Nebraska, power company in Omaha.
Right.
And he was one of the chief's name is Howard Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big name in Omaha,
He
Nebraska.
is. He's his birthday's the same as my father's, June 2nd, and he's just a very brilliant man and philanthropist and very kind, and just happened to work out. I was in IT back in 1990. I was a consultant for a company that did Nebraska's backups and whatnot. And then in 1993, I started full-time with them. And back then, I was the IT department. I was the only guy.
You were worth your weight in gold. Then.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we did Novell Network, and that thing was up for a year solid without having to reboot. And I was pretty proud of that. And then we've grown and grown, and now I think there's probably 50 people in IT.
wow.
And there's probably 12 to 25 on the hardware side. And then, yeah.
So are you the IT guy at your house?
at my house.
At your house? Yeah, and your neighbors' houses?
I have a few friends, yes. That was one of my questions. Are you a Mac guy or a PC guy?
Oh, I'm a PC guy, but I'm a PC guy simply because of the fact that when I came to NASA in 1981 as a summer intern, it was big honking mainframes and all that crazy stuff. But then as I came back in my early years at NASA as an aerospace engineer, computers were morphing. And we were going from those big mainframes. Do you remember I don't even know the brand, but it was a suitcase. You carried it. It was really heavy.
Luggable.
Yeah, and then they had the keyboard was attached to the bottom, and you just turned it over, laid it over, took the keyboard off. I remember we had that for a long time, and it was so exciting because you could actually do stuff, and we could check that computer out and take it home. And I took it home once. I don't know why. I don't remember.
Just because you could.
Because I could.
Part of your weight training that day.
But that was where we were, and then as we went through, I do remember sitting in Building 17 and sending email to a colleague engineer in Europe on a project that we were doing, right? And that's my earliest recollection of real email. So as part of the Ashland Greenwood schools, jumping back again, I want to ask you guys both the same question, but I want you to reflect on who your favorite and most impactful teachers were, and why, and what did their leadership, their input, their skill set, their teaching, what did that lead you or did it spur you to do what you did for your careers? Did it spur you to do something with your family? How did it affect you being in that small town environment with those teachers?
Tom can go first.
Tom could go first, okay.
I liked Frank Marsh. He was advanced math.
Yep.
And I'm not sure geometry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
He wasn't there our senior year. I was kind of disappointed he left us. But I always struggled with any math, more than 2 + 2. And
That's 5.
And he was encouraging, and I could see in his eyes he knew I was struggling, and he was helpful that way, and encouraged me to continue on. I remember a 3-dimensional trig problem that for extra credit you could do this problem, and I needed extra credit. So I struggled
You
through
could have
with
mowed
that.
his lawn, dude.
I struggled through with that 3D problem, and every once in a while I'd ask him a question, and it helped me understand the geometry a little bit better, and I solved it, and I forget how many steps, but there's another classmate or upperclassman that also solved it. What is his name? Jeff Rakes.
He probably did it in 2 steps.
Well,
or something.
he did it in more steps than I did it.
Oh,
so I was a little proud there, but I'm sure he did it all by himself. He didn't get any help. So, and then I remember Frank Marshy ripped a page out of a math book and wrote something to all of his kids. A going away message. Don't know where it is, but I always liked him. Of course, Chuck Niemeyer. It's hard to beat him.
Oh,
but yeah.
Yeah. He's a unique individual and a possible guest on our podcast.
As I understand, if we hang around long enough, we might get to say hi to him.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I see him all the time. We were coming back from Missouri for a users group meeting, and it was late in the day, and we're down in this company called Lab Conco in Kansas City. And on the way back, we bumped into Chuck Niemeyer at the gas station. Stopped and had a visit with him. But that guy's just a dynamo.
What made him? How did he influence you as a teacher?
Oh, Chuck?
Yeah.
Good sense of humor. I mean, that guy.
Yes, he did have a good sense of humor.
And he was. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what class I had with him. Probably
biology.
Biology, yeah.
10th grade.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. He was trying to teach us about the birds and the bees using mammals, and we weren't really paying attention. I know it was hard for him.
Well, we did dissect frogs. I remember that, right?
We did that, and I remember doing that in junior high. Alice Rakes.
Didn't we do it again in
perhaps
10th grade?
Could have, yeah.
I don't. Yes, it kind of rolls. And so, Richard, Richard,
go ahead.
Who are your favorite teachers? And then I want to kind of roll it into the overall system.
I guess I have 2 that I kind of remember. Betty Starnes for music. I think that I don't know that she was as well liked, but she was spot on as far as her methods in teaching musically. And I think that we ended up, I don't know if it was our class, but I enjoyed singing, and I still enjoy singing to this day. And I appreciated that part in your book that mentioned that you would sung, and all 3 of you had gone through church and piano and organ. And one of my questions was if you still played, and trombone. But she was professional, and she took us to district, I think, and we did well. And I still sing. I think one of the songs that she had us sing was Psalm 46.
Yep.
And we went through and we had the part where we weren't really singing, we were just talking. It's like, God is our refuge, God is our strength, God is our refuge, God is our strength. And it just built and built, and she was just, whatever she would direct, we would do. And I was class treasurer, and I gave her money for one of our fundraisers or something. So I found receipts for that she had signed off, received $17. But, she had the most impact non-mathematically.
How about discipline from her?
I don't remember. I was a pretty easy kid.
Yeah, you weren't one of the people that had to be disciplined. But
right. And I tried... I can't remember it all, so I tend just to remember the good stuff.
Okay, that's good. Good plan.
Then Marge Guerin in math and geometry or whatever it was very helpful and very professional. And then I'd accepted Christ in my junior year, and she was also a Christian lady, and we had that bond as well. I don't remember if we went to the same church, if she was our youth group leader, and things of that nature. But so we had relationships that went past high school and went past academia, and so she's pretty special lady too.
Okay, and those great answers. Now I want you to tell me or talk to me about, those were your favorites, right? But as we went through Ashland, and we went through all of our classes with all of our teachers and all of our classmates, what stands out to you as to why it was good? I think it was good, right? I think that it helped me a lot. It was good for me. And so how did, in general, that school system, that environment, how did it shape you?
Tom first.
Yeah, why me first?
Yeah, see.
H comes before W.
I think that...
And turnabout is fair play, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that one of the nice things about Ashland was that it was a nice size. It wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. I couldn't have risen to the top academically if the class would have been much bigger. But
I don't know about that.
But it gave opportunities that big schools don't. For example, even though I was student manager for football and basketball, for crying out loud, I got the chance. They gave me a letter for doing that. And that made a big impression on me because I was just the water guy and the basketball.
You were good.
away.
You were pretty good.
Well, I appreciate that.
As I recall.
I got to appreciate watching you from quote unquote the back because I think you had an awesome 3-point shot down in the corner.
Yes, I did.
And I just remember that. And in general, coaches and athletics weren't my forte, but Coach Simpson gave me a chance to try and kick field goals when I was in football before I ended up being a student manager, and I didn't have the leg strength to do that. And Coach Sutton it was just his skill set was different than mine, but I still learned from him.
Oh, sure.
I still am not a fan of the group punishment, but I was the cause of some group punishment by either not doing something as well as somebody else or not being able to climb the rope and touch the thing at the top, So we were all in it together, I guess.
Absolutely.
We had the camaraderie of suffrage as well as excellence. So it was
Coach Thorell.
Oh, yeah, that group punishment came to mind there.
Yeah,
You guys
Thorell, that's right.
You guys don't want to dance in PE anymore? Okay, we won't dance. Get down on all fours.
Drop and give me 50.
It was worse.
Fingertip
It was
push-ups.
worse than that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories of that, though, now that you mention it, and I'd have forgotten about it, wasn't there some kind of four-wheel thing that we sat on and did like
football,
dodgeball?
scooter football.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
In the gym, and then we had war ball, which that was one of my favorites. But today you can't have war ball because people throw the ball too hard and hurt people, I guess. But
Participation.
That was part of the fun.
Tom?
One of my impressions of small town school was, you go into kindergarten and you meet someone, and they're there your whole. Eugene Vossler, he was there all the way through, and all of those kids we had all the way through.
Yeah,
and some of them they came in late. I was a new guy. It was country school.
I mean, new guys. They were really hard. They took a long time to adapt.
Those new kids coming in for high school, but some of them were girls, so that was good too.
Yeah.
Becky Neatfeld, she came in from country school, and Susie Cronigan, and gosh, I don't remember who all. Teresa Dulesky.
Yeah.
So we gained a lot that way too. But
I loved the small town environment. I have a philosophy that I've built over the years that the ability for kids to be well-rounded, to do multiple things, to be in sports, to be in academia, and we were all in the science club. You remember the science club?
Yeah,
and
David
Dr. Dow, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All those experiences and well-roundedness make better citizens, I think. I think they, you see things from different perspectives where in today's world, as I raised my son, he was a pretty good athlete, and everybody wanted him to focus on one sport. And there's a lot of that in Texas, just by nature of the beast, but we didn't let him do that. We wanted him to do everything. He was in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He was a football player, a basketball player. He did track. He played baseball. And he was great academically as well, but he did lots of different things. And I think that's so important. And I also think that that's one of the big pluses of Ashland, Nebraska. So let me ask you one last question here. And you can take it wherever you want. What are your favorite memories from high school? And do you have any Clay stories you want to share? Richard, you go first.
Since it was a pinnacle in my life, one of the favorites would have been the honors that we had received, and you were there for most of them. We were both in National Honor Society.
Yep.
We were the only two guys. There's 5 gals.
That was a good thing.
That's right. And there was 5 gals, in between us, and that was a highlight. And then commencement and graduating the top of the class, the stuff going back and forth between you and me as far as I've got this grade, we're going in. I thought I was ahead of you and some of that. And then also when I remember when we went to district or whatever and we did the musical numbers, that was a highlight.
Yeah, that was a cool time, and it was cool to do it for Betty.
Yeah.
but for us as well. And do I still play the piano? I played the piano for that district performance, right?
Right.
And for the girls' chorus I played, for the mixed chorus I played, and for the boys' chorus I sang. But I still play.
Good.
I was, for many years, the backup organist at Webster Presbyterian Church in Webster, Texas.
As far as clay moments, I would have to say that I thought about this a little bit. I'm trying to formulate some questions and waking up in the middle of the night. I want to ask him that. I want to ask him that.
I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
I didn't realize that Clay Street and Clay Anderson and Harry Clay were all related, and some of this. And is his daughter Sutton named after Coach Sutton? Is that, And so I just going back and forth. But what I did remember is that the only place that I could compete with you was academically. I was the student manager. You were the stud.
No.
I was I was taking attendance at choir. You were in swing choir. I was in general choir. But through all those times, I never remember you speaking down to me. I never remember you being angry. And that's part of the reason I was kind of surprised at a couple things that you shared in your book. But I never remembered anything that was negative. I didn't, you were an okay guy.
Thanks.
And it's an honor and privilege to know you.
Well, thank you. I think some of what I shared in my book, came because of part of the stress of being an astronaut in training, and you talk about competition.
I have no idea.
I had no idea.
Really?
I kind of did, right? Oh, so I'm applying, right? But I didn't have a real understanding until I was selected and got there. Because that's when the real competition started. And, if you ask my wife and I, we spent many times talking about, did I do the right thing? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And when I ended up in Russia freezing my booty off in January, in the dark, and I'm thinking, my God, what have I done? But it turned out okay. So thank you for those kind words.
Yeah.
Tom, is it going to be skateboards
Now,
in the sewer of Ashland, Nebraska?
to get you two the closest as far as classmates that lived close to each other? I know Pat Cool lived, up on 13th.
We just Tom.
Four houses apart or whatever.
I knew Clay before kindergarten.
Yeah, closer than that, right?
Okay.
They were on the corner, and we were just one house over from them.
One bottle rocket away. We said bottle rocket wars.
And Roman candles.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And skateboarding in the sewer system.
Yeah, we did that.
That was news to me.
Rats.
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
I read that. But
Yeah. Why did we do that?
Because we were so bored. There was absolutely nothing to do.
We should have played video games.
Yeah, why
there
didn't
were
we
no
do
video
that?
games. Yeah.
Well, we take bike rides to Memphis. I think you were involved with
Yes,
that.
and that was
7 miles
yes,
away.
and it seemed like it was 70 miles to me, right? Because back then the bikes were so heavy, and they didn't have the gear
single
ratio.
speed or 3-speed at the most, I suppose.
I think 3 speeds, right, back then, because we were junior
I
high?
was single speed, Schwinn Stingray.
Oh, I don't remember what I had, but I know it sucked. The 7 miles was, the downhill, the coming down the hill by the school, the old country school. That was the best part.
Yeah, a lot of memories. You and your brother.
Yeah.
Riding mini bikes in the front yard, swinging on the rope, swing in the backyard. And,
oh yeah.
Mom says she remembers making popcorn, bringing it out to us on the porch.
Yeah.
I remember Dad making hot cocoa for us.
Homemade root beer, dude.
Oh, that too.
They made homemade. Did you ever have their homemade root beer?
My dad made some homemade root beer too.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a little explosive. So.
It
popped its own caps.
We had the push cart that got entered in the kiddie parade almost every year.
Ah.
That was one year. I think someone influenced it to be the Batmobile.
Aha.
Yeah, there's a memory.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's those comic books we read in the apple tree in Brad Beckman's yard.
Fond memory. Going over to Clay's house, and that screen door was slamming shut. He comes out with a towel around his neck, and he's Batman.
And my brother was Robin.
Yeah.
And we used to jump off the garage
roof
down to the ground.
That was another one of my questions. Are you still a DC comic guy only, or have you adjusted to the Marvel world?
Yeah, I've adjusted to all of it. I love superheroes. Yeah. If I had to rank them, they'd still be Superman and Batman, right? And I remember many of the comic books we used to read. But I love the Iron Man stuff and all that craziness. That's just what I like. You know, even people ask me about, well, did you see Apollo 13? Have you watched the space movie? Have you seen the All for All Mankind? No. You know, I go watch them eventually, but usually they're more comedic to me than they are real.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that's true.
So,
I want to back to your high school question. You asked favorite memories. I should mention David Dow. He volunteered to be a science club sponsor.
Because we didn't have a science club.
And they kind of poo-pooed it. They didn't want one, so he went ahead and did it anyway. And he did a lot of extra work.
Yes.
And we went on a lot of tours. I think Rick and I were involved with a lot of those. He took us to a lot of different places, trying to encourage us for jobs with chemistry. And, of course, it was a total waste of time on my part. Chemistry and me just...
Dude,
we
electronics, though, is good.
You got to pick something.
Well, and he did the science fair, right? He
started the science fair. I don't know.
Didn't you win the science fair?
Sure.
Probably.
No.
I entered the science fair. I don't remember.
Well, so did I, but I wasn't there to present my project because I had a basketball game.
Yeah,
right?
well, you got priorities.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But he was a good guy, and
he really did a lot. He had paper drives to raise funds because there was absolutely no money.
Mm-hmm.
So he really got a lot out of that.
I think he was one of the. Wasn't he kind to the environment kind of guy too? Recycling, was that
Probably.
what the paper drive was?
Well, the paper drive was to raise funds for the science club. Yeah,
I remember shooting rockets in the back parking lot or whatever behind the school that you would.
That was, well, I don't know if that was.
That was sanctioned. There was a lot of people there.
Chuck Niemeyer had his physical science class, and he sponsored that, and I wasn't in the class, but he did get me in. He got me out of Spanish so I could go see that. You know, that was a must.
Muy bien.
Yeah, muy bien. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
So, Chuck Dow did a lot for us, and
is he still around?
Well, he's teaching in Omaha.
In Omaha, yeah.
And I don't know if he's retired yet, but a friend's son had him for a teacher, and he's got to be retirement age.
Yeah, I think he was teaching at I want to say Creighton Preppers.
I believe you're right. Yeah,
because I did an event. As an astronaut, where I went to Mr. Dow's class or school or something, because I know I've seen him several times since I became an astronaut.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah,
he remembers you.
Oh yeah, well I remember him. I mean,
same hairstyle was.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably a little bit.
It's a little
gray.
grayer.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was a smart guy, and,
and
he challenged us. And I think that's the other important thing about Ashland and the school system was that, for the most part, we were expected to be respectful, and we were disciplined appropriately, if not. Although, group punishment in PE, maybe that was probably a little out of bounds. But then they challenged us. Even though I carried my books home and put them on the TV, I was still challenged. There were times when I struggled, but it would eventually come to me. But everybody challenged me. The coaches challenged me to be better. The teachers challenged me. Betty used to challenge me to sing solos and to play, and Eugene Walden challenged me as a musician to be better. And I love music, right? Music is a big thing for me, and I'm grateful to all of them. Just like I'm grateful to you two for being here.
Well, it's a pleasure.
On our podcast today. It's great to catch up.
I didn't get to ask my question.
Well, ask your question.
This goes back before high school. This is grade school.
Okay.
Ron Irons is preaching.
Yes. Oh.
And he started the sermon over and kind of went a little over.
Uh-huh.
Somebody fell asleep in church.
Who would that be?
Leaning his blonde head up against the side of the pew.
Oh, we're narrowing it down, aren't we?
So I went to wake him up. His mom said, "You leave him be."
My mom said that?
Yep. So we left the church, and I turn around and look, and he's sitting there asleep. So after lunch, I go over to Clay's house. And can Clay come out and play? Clay is grounded. Do you remember that? I don't remember if I ever asked you about that. How much trouble were you in?
I kind of do. But I know, when we used to sit in the pews, if we were doing something wrong, we got the pinch from Mom. She'd just slide her hand over and she'd pa, and you, and there was one time that I don't know if it was you and I. It was me and a wild. Maybe it was Dan.
Probably Dan.
Dan, and we were sitting in the front, and one of the ladies, I believe she might be related to the current mayor of Ashland in some form. But anyway, she was singing a solo.
Oh, Carolee?
Carolee, that's it.
Aunt Carolee.
Yeah, and your next door neighbor, actually, right?
Yep.
But no, it wasn't her. It was her. I can't think of her name. It wasn't Carolee though. But anyway, the lady stands up and she's singing a solo, and your brother and I, in our infinite wisdom, we stand up, we turn and look at the congregation, and we put our fingers in our ears.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness is right. No, it wasn't you.
It wasn't me,
I'm
no.
pretty sure it was Dan. And oh my goodness gracious. Corporal punishment was alive and well in the Anderson household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a memory.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not a good one.
No, not a good one, but still there.
You know, we received, but we were never ever to, you know, you can't go spanking kids now.
No.
Well, how frustrating is that? You know?
Pretty frustrating at
We
times.
got them and can't give them. So.
Well, you guys, I love you both, and I'm grateful for your time here, and I thank you.
Sure.
I'm honored to have you as friends, and I hope we can keep in touch through Facebook or whatever it is. Whenever I'm in Nebraska, perhaps our paths can cross again.
Sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure.
You bet. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.
Please rate, review, follow, and subscribe, as it helps others find my podcast. Thank you for listening. And a special thank you to my dear friend Chip Davis of Mannheim Steamroller fame for the use of his talents in music.